We knew the Dodgers opening day rotation wouldn't make it through the whole year unscathed. We maybe didn't necessarily think it would be Blake Snell, the first one down, and this early in the season, but that's the case. Let's dig into it live on Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, this is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks to our everydayers for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. And thanks to those of you who are with us live here late on this Sunday evening. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. So please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. If this is your first time with us, my name is Jeff Snider. That guy next to me is my co-host, Vince Samperio. Vince and I are both lifelong Dodger fans, just like most of you. We also spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room, so we bring you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And Vince, I think today is a good day to remind people that Locked On Dodgers is not a recap show. There is the Locked On Dodgers postcast after most Dodger games, including all three of the games against the Phillies that Pete kind of ran through here's what happened in the game. Here on this show, we kind of assume everybody...
And our YouTube shorts.
Yeah, our YouTube shorts too, for sure. Here on this show, though, we kind of assume everybody watched the game or at least knows what happened at this point. So we're digging into more big picture stuff. So the 30-second rundown of the weekend, Dodgers lost 2 out of 3 to the Phillies. Teams that have games affected by rain should have to forfeit for not having the foresight to build a dome, and Hunter Wendelstedt should be drawn and quartered. I think that covers the weekend. So let's talk about the I guess it's not off the field news. It's in the bullpen news, I guess, because Blake Snell was throwing a bullpen session on Sunday in preparation for his start on Tuesday, and he felt something in his shoulder. And talked with the trainer, talked with the GM, and went on the IL, which was unexpected for him, I'm sure, unexpected for us as fans, and definitely not ideal, especially where the Dodgers are at in their pit. They had already announced like an hour before that Wednesday would either be a spot start or a bullpen game, depending on the bullpen usage between now and then. Now suddenly they need a starter for Tuesday too. And, also they needed the bullpen for what, six full innings on Sunday.
Yeah, it was not ideal situation. I mean, even with, we'll get into Roki Sasaki, but even with him going 4 innings, you think, okay, guys, now can give him at least 5 and they'll get back into it. And that ultimately wasn't the case. And, with the Snell news, we heard that Sauer was in the clubhouse on Saturday, and we just assumed it would be for like Luis Garcia or someone because they were going to throw someone until, in case they needed extra arms. And then ultimately that was not the case because he ended up being added to the roster for Blake Snell. Every injury for the Dodgers is going to be taken very cautiously right now, and it might be a little annoying, but that's ultimately the way it needs to be. And now they're stuck in a little bit of a weird spot. The good thing is that they do have a lot of arms down there, just a matter of how effective those arms are going to be.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. We spent the whole offseason talking about the Dodgers pitching depth, how many starters they have, and how the guys in the opening day rotation all have question marks as far as health goes and durability and all that. So we knew there would be guys on the IL throughout the season, and we knew they would be using that depth. We maybe didn't necessarily expect to have it happen on April 6th, and that is – and maybe we didn't even expect it to be Blake Snell. There were articles written about him during the season or during the offseason that he wanted to be the Dodgers Iron Man in the rotation, the workhorse, whatever you want to call it, the guy who takes the ball every time out. Now we know he will at least not take the ball 2 times out while he's on the IL. And so in a way, yeah, it's definitely frustrating, but also it is what we expected, even if the specifics as far as timing and personnel aren't what we expected. The general concept of Dodgers are going to have some pitchers on the IL and they're going to use that minor league depth definitely was part of the plan.
Yeah, Snell was supposed to be the, quote unquote workhorse for this one, but it didn't work out that way. You get him out of the way now. If he feels something, you stop it, you get him out of there. And we move on to who could it be? And, realistically, there's 4 choices of who it could be: Bobby Miller, Landon Knack, Justin Robleski, and Tony Gonsolin. Realistically, Gonsolin probably not the guy, just because he's not built up yet, and they don't need somebody to go 2 or 3 innings. They need him to go a little bit more, 4 or 5. Bobby Miller hadn't pitched in a week, but did pitch on Sunday, so that takes him out. So effectively, it comes down to Landon Knack and Justin Robleski, who both would be on normal or more than normal rest if they pitched on Tuesday or Wednesday. It's just a matter of, are they going to do both of them? Are they going to bring up one bullpen arm and use one of them and try to get by that way? There's different ways for them to go about it. But honestly, it's probably just a wait and see approach. They might just fly them both in and see what happens.
Yeah, maybe. Although at this point, after the bullpen did have to throw 6 innings on Sunday, it's hard to picture the bullpen being in a position for a bullpen game. Like, they might want an extra reliever and you still use a spot starter. Like, bring them both up. They both pitched for the team last year, so maybe they want them there in DC to go to the White House anyway. Fly them both in, activate one of them on Tuesday, and then send him to the minors as soon as he's done, and call up the other one for Wednesday. That way you still have that extra reliever of the bullpen all that time, and hopefully getting some length from those guys. Like you said, Gonsolin only threw like 35 pitches in his first rehab starts. He's just not a realistic option. If they did go that route of calling up one and then sending him back down and then calling up the other, they might then also send him back down right after his start on Wednesday, which would mean Monday, when Snell's turn comes around again, they would have to have a third person, which that one could be Bobby Miller. So we may see these Tuesday, Wednesday, and Monday starts be filled by 3 different guys of Justin Robleski, Landon Knack, and Bobby Miller.
And that's where the depth really plays, because they have enough guys to cover it that way if they need to. There's probably a lot of teams that wouldn't be able to do that, or wouldn't be able to do that with guys that are at least major league quality. And all those guys are major league quality. Yeah, Sauer, he'll be able to give some innings, and, they'll be able to get some guys. But even then, early on in the season, Blake Trinan, he's been in almost half the games already. I feel like Vesey has been in at least half the games already. Like, a lot of the bullpen has thrown a lot. So I feel like they do have to go to these other guys. They do have to try to get some length. They need at least 5 innings. And it's early enough in the season. Obviously, it sucks. But like we saw, the Dodgers offense put up 7 runs on Sunday. A normal pitching day for the Dodgers would have got them that win. Unfortunately, it was the abnormal one where they walked 11 guys and gave up some hits in untimely situations. But for the overall team, it makes sense to just, hey, Landon Knack, we need 5 innings out of you. You might, have to wear it a little bit, but we need the 5 innings lengthwise more so than maybe quality-wise.
Yeah, and that's, definitely wearing it. And we talked the other day about the concept of wearing it, where there's wearing it where you're giving up some runs, and there's wearing it where you can't get through an inning. And maybe this is as good a time as any to segue to our next topic, because the reason we were talking about wearing it was Roki Sasaki, who his first 2 starts of this year was terrible. And we talked about how if he could get outs, he might need to wear it just for the sake of saving the bullpen. Turns out his third start was quite a bit better than his first 2. Not perfect, but quite a bit better. We're going to dig into that. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, and please continue to keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by Just Ingredients. Looking at me, you can tell I have a lot of experience making bad decisions about what to put into my body, but today I want to tell you about a good decision I've been making lately. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters, and that's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients is also partnered with 2-time MVP Bryce Harper, who we will talk about in this third segment, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. For me, I've found that when I start the day with a protein-packed first meal, I make a lot better decisions on what to eat the rest of the day because I'm fuller longer and don't have as many cravings. I've been loving the Just Ingredients protein powder to help me get my day started right. My wife loves it too. We're going through this bag really quick. It tastes really good, has 25 grams of protein per serving, and I love that Just Ingredients prioritizes wholesome, nourishing ingredients without the artificial junk. So visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow just.ingredients on Instagram. We are back. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, or as Noah points out in the chat, your last listen if you are with us here at 10:25 p.m. Pacific on Sunday evening. Whenever it is, we appreciate you. Thanks to our everydayers. Thanks for being here with us live. If you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. Remember to, for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB, hosted by our buddy Paul Francis Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully. And and you go beyond the podcast to become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. So we mentioned Roki Sasaki. His first 2 starts were bad, in different ways. Definitely some of the same symptoms. The results weren't identical. And on Saturday, it looked like it was going to be more of the same. The first 2 hitters for the Phillies both got hits. And I guess, maybe that was a good sign that he didn't walk either of them. But they both got hits. Kyle Schwarber scored. And, so the first batter of the game scored for the Phillies. And then they didn't score again. And Sasaki settled in pretty nicely. He ended up walking 2 guys. One of them was his second to last batter. It was JT Realmuto. And technically he struck out looking. The umpire just disagreed. I'm not going to blame it on the umpire. It wasn't a great pitch. He did miss a spot. I still think, a pitch in the strike zone ought to be called a strike, but I've had that conversation plenty of times. And apparently Major League Baseball disagrees with me on that. And then he gave up a hit that probably should have been an out. Teoscar Hernandez kind of did his impression of left field Teoscar on this ball. He did redeem himself just a couple batters later by ending the inning with a very nice throw to double off Bryson Stott off first base. So this was the 15th. Roki was kind of cruising through 4 innings. It looked like he was going to get through 5 and maybe even come out for the 6th. Instead, ended up just being a 4-inning start plus 2 batters in the 5th inning. But 3 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Command looked a lot better, Vince.
A lot better. And I felt the same way you mentioned right now after the first 2 guys got on via hit. It was like, okay, well, he hasn't gotten beaten getting hit so far. He's gotten beaten himself a little bit. And, I'll take that. I'll take that as an improvement.
And they weren't super hard hit either.
Yeah, pitch count was low. He got through, under 20 pitches, I think, that first inning, even with the run allowed and a couple hits. So he looked good. Honestly, if, with Yamamoto pitching well on Friday and then them expecting Glasnow to pitch good on Sunday, they probably cut Roki a little bit. I don't want to say earlier than they would have, but I think if Yamamoto had gone 5 innings and, they had a little bit more uncertainty, they might have pushed them a little bit, just see what happens. But, you want to get them out with the confidence. Obviously, the team helped and backed them up in that inning defensively after hurting them a little bit defensively. So, yeah, this is the Roki we got. The splitter, he needs a fastball to use the splitter. The fastball, he was able to get get enough strikes with it. And the splitter, he threw, got 10 or 10 through 10, 5 swings and misses, or the other way around, whatever it was. There was a lot of good from Roki, and against a Phillies team that's supposed to be pretty good. Everyone hyped up the raucous crowd at Citizens Bank Park was going to break down Roki Sasaki, and that didn't quite work out that way.
Yeah, and we mentioned after his first start in Japan, he will probably not have that much pressure in a start until the World Series. That's pitching your major league debut in your home country. Huge deal. And then his first start at Dodger Stadium. Obviously, there's a lot of I imagine Philadelphia felt a little bit like a break for him. This is just a hostile opposing crowd. I've dealt with that. It's the, maybe even helped him settle in a little bit more. But, he made some really good hitters look really bad. With Castellanos had back-to-back swings. He missed the ball by 3 feet on both of those. Schwarber.
Harper was the first strikeout was really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, those guys, he made, and Trey Turner had a, I think that was it? I think it was him that struck out Turner. Was that the 4 strikeouts then? Because I know Trey Turner looked bad on a strikeout too that game, but I can't remember if that was when Sasaki was still in the game. But either way, that was Vesia came in, or Bonda. No, what are those? Anyway, it's not a recap show. You watch the game. So I guess my question for you, Vince, is going forward. Do you feel like this was a big step forward that Sasaki's going to build on, or was this kind of one of the ups in what we're expecting to be a series of ups and downs this season?
I would imagine this starts to set a little bit of a benchmark of what to expect with Sasaki. I think it's that benchmark is he'll be competitive. And sometimes that means 5+ innings. Sometimes that means he gets hit and gets pulled early. But I'm hoping this means that the mechanics are down enough to where he's not going to get pulled because he walked too many guys. He's not going to get pulled because of non-competitive pitches. And that's, what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that from now on, he's competitive, whether that's good or bad. That remains to be seen. And, they'll have to make decisions if it's bad. But I think this is, to do that in this lineup, after working on your mechanics specifically in order to throw more strikes, doing it on the road, doing whatever, your third time through, like there's a lot of things to like for Sasaki moving forward from this point. And I think he's going to be competitive. I'm not going to say he's going to be rookie of the year right now, but if he showed stuff that definitely has rookie of the year stuff.
Yeah, it's he said after the game that the start gave him a lot of confidence. And I think that confidence comes from realizing, when I throw strike one, the whole at bat gets a lot easier. Like throwing strikes, getting ahead of hitters, so you can use that splitter, so you don't have to rely on the fastball or go to the slider that you feel like you have a little bit more command with. Starting guys with strikes, getting ahead in the count is huge for a pitcher, especially a young pitcher who is trying to find his stuff, find his way, find his command, all those things. Because those strikeouts, like the ones we're talking about, none of those were on pitches in the strike zone, but it's because he was in pitchers' counts, and so he was able to get the swing and miss. Because hitters, it's easy to be afraid of major league hitters, but in the end, they can be put at a disadvantage, and they have the same challenges that pitchers have. When you're ahead in the count, you're happy, whether you're the pitcher or the batter, and the opposite is true too. And so if you can get ahead of these hitters, even if it is a foul ball, even if you're not, blowing the ball past them, but you make your pitch on the fringes of the strike zone, they foul it off, boom, all of a sudden, it's 0-1. Now I'm in a good count, and then if you get to 0-2, then you've got 4 pitches to play with to strike this guy out or get weak contact. And, all those things going to come to Roki as time goes by. And we got to remember, he's been pitching professionally for several years. Like, he knows how to do this. It's different because major league hitters, but I think some of this might've just been almost a reminder for him. Like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. I've faced really good hitters for the last 5 years, and I've done a pretty good job getting them out. These are different hitters. They're probably better hitters, but they're still, they're professional hitters, and I've been getting professional hitters out for years.
Yeah. You look at the breakdown, and where it really stood out was, like you said, with the fastball, he got 10 called strikes on the fastball. He got 17 swings on the fastball, just 3 whiffs, but guys are swinging and guys are getting called strikes. Like, that's enough to build off the splitter, or the, whatever, fork ball, whatever that you want to call it. I think Pitching Ninja called it the dragon fork. Everyone's going to give it a name, and then he gets 10 swings on it, and there was 5 swings and misses. So like that's what you play off of. And, they were talking about it on the broadcast. Oro was kind of saying, like, yeah, they don't know what's coming now. Even when he got to 3-2 with Real Muto in that last inning that he ended up pitching, if you're JT Realmuto, you have no idea what's coming. He could throw the splitter because he feels confident in it. He could throw a fastball because he's been able to land it for strikes and challenge you. Or, he could try the off speed and try to get you guessing even more. And that's where the pitching part comes in for Roki. And I think that's where, the biggest part of it is. You throw strikes. No one's hit you that great yet, even though your fastball has, some people say it's not the best fastball. It's a little too straight, blah, 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 whatever. That's not the point of your fastball. Your point of your fastball is to land it, move it around, get some strikes, and then play the splitter off of it.
Yeah, and he's not being hit hard. The 3 hits he allowed weren't hard hit. It's just, like you said, one of them should have been an out. The other 2 were, especially Trey Turner. It was just, he poked it to the right side. It was good hitting by Trey Turner. It wasn't a hard hit ball. Like, with the stuff we've seen, even as much as he's struggled, he hasn't come close to giving up a home run because, people aren't barreling up the ball against him. And some of that, the first 2 starts, he didn't throw enough strikes to get barreled up. But this one, he was pitched into the 5th inning and looked really, really good. Retired, I think it was 12 in a row or so, or 12 out of 13, I think, before those last 2 batters. So definitely something to look forward to for when he starts again on whenever it'll be, probably Saturday again. probably Yamamoto on Friday and him on Saturday again. So excited to see his progression. That'll be back at home against the Cubs. I see a couple, before we go to break, comments in the chat about the game on Sunday with the rain and the grounds crew not drying off the mound, putting fresh dirt on and stuff. And I don't really have many thoughts on that. I just wanted to acknowledge the questions. People saying Dave Roberts should have been demanding that they come put stuff on the mound to dry it off, or that Glasnow should have demanded. I don't know. I've never pitched in the big leagues, and when I did pitch, I was in Southern California. I've never pitched in the rain, I don't think. So
I've seen pitchers stop and like try to ask someone to come out. If Glasnow was feeling that way, he could have done it.
Yeah. So I don't know. The rain definitely affected him. Hopefully he came out of it healthy, and it's just a loss and not anything more than that. And we will, Dodgers don't have to go back to Philadelphia this year, so that's good. We're going to come back. Somebody who may not even be going to Washington, D.C., probably will, but maybe not, is Andy Pages. He has continued to struggle offensively and defensively, and it cost the Dodgers in this game. We're going to dig into what the Dodgers ought to do either with or to Andy Pages. So thanks for making us your first listen, and please keep it locked on Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live, the crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. If you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever with last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Game Time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. I've used Game Time for Dodger games, a couple basketball games, some concerts, and several comedy shows, and I've always loved how easy it is to get the guaranteed best price on any tickets I need. I especially like the Game Time Picks feature, which makes finding the best deals effortless. It filters out the fluff and highlights the top discounts in the stadium. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We are back. Thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen or your last listen or whatever listen it is. We appreciate all listens. Again, remember this show is free wherever you get podcasts or on YouTube. You're watching it or listening to it right now. Just make sure you're subscribed. If you are on YouTube, shoot a comment down in the comment section below. Those always help more people find the show, keep the conversation going even after we're done being live here. So we love those comments. And again, go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. So, Andy Pages, the story with Andy Pages in center field, Vince, has always been, well, if he hits, we can deal with some lackluster defense in center field if he hits. He's not hitting, and the defense, like I said, we assume everybody watched the game. If you didn't watch the game, obviously you're not going to go watch a game the Dodgers lost just to see this play. But go ahead. On the MLB app, it's really easy to skip to the exact spot. Go to the first batter at the bottom of the seventh inning and watch Bryce Harper's double, using air quotes on that. Andy Pages spun around more than something that spins around a lot. A top or a ballerina. And still missed the ball by 20 feet. Like, I don't think I'm exaggerating here when I say there are 7 kids on my son's 14U team that would have made that play.
Yeah, I am on record as saying I don't remember Pages being that bad last year. I did see a compilation of Pages plays from last year, and they weren't great, but some of them were like, plays that good center fielders make, not great, or maybe even great center fielders make. And they were kind of spread out. We're getting a lot right now, and it's all in the same, couple weeks span. So it's very glaring, and it's a lot more glaring because, like you said, he's not hitting. And on top of that, he's been out on the bases a couple times. He got picked off, he got thrown out, and he probably should have got thrown out a couple other times when he didn't pick up his coach, but he got lucky.
Doesn't know how to slide.
Yeah. It's just a combination of a lot right now. And if you're not going to hit, there's multiple guys the Dodgers have in OKC that can come up and not hit and play center field. Whether I know James Outman is striking out a lot in AAA right now, but Pages isn't doing much better here, and maybe Outman can get a couple walks, run into a couple. something, because it's not working. And I don't know if it's a lack of focus, if it's just him, if it's whatever, but I do think the Dodgers, they have long leashes for a lot of guys. I don't think they're going to have a long leash for Pages the way he's playing right now.
Yeah, the funny thing is, in the top of the seventh, Pages actually did get a base hit and scored a big run in the Dodgers rally. And he's probably thinking, hey, look, I'm redeeming myself. And then he goes out and blows that lead that they just got by just misplaying this ball in such hilarious fashion. And yeah, it seems like there was actually rumors. There was a video going around from the Oklahoma City Comets broadcast of Hyeseong Kim getting some hugs in the dugout during the game. And it kind of looked like, is he getting called up? This was actually before Pages made the bad play. Because Kim has played a couple games in center field in Oklahoma City. He played a couple games in center field in spring training. We talked the other day. I like Tommy Edman at second base. I think Tommy Edman is an elite second baseman and a fine center fielder. I think I would rather have the elite second base defense, and then Kim can be a fine center fielder defensively. And, fact is, at this point, Kim's not tearing the cover off the ball in Oklahoma City, but he's looking better than he did in spring training. And he won't do worse than Pages has done so far. Maybe from right now, Pages is going to start tearing the cover off the ball, and he would have been a better option than Kim. But what we've seen from Pages so far offensively, Kim wouldn't do worse than that.
Yeah, I'd say 3 weeks. We're at the 2-week mark right now. So, but again, it's all facets is really where it gets me. And with Pages, if it was just the defense, if it was just the offense, if it was even just the base running, even if it was 2 or 3 of those, whatever combination, 2 or 3 of those, I think it would be, okay, whatever. We're still winning. And that's really, kind of what I've been saying about when they're going to give guys leashes is like, okay, well, we're still winning. But again, now there's losses that have been not, they're not on him, but they're affected by him, some of the losses. And, there's been misplays and things like that. And, the Dodgers pitching has had some mishaps, and then combine that with misplays, and then they have mishaps. Like, there's a lot going on right now. If you could eliminate that one thing, then you have to try to eliminate that one thing. And I think it might happen. Maybe they'll give them to the end of this and send them back before they get back to LA, or maybe it's right now. I don't know.
Yeah, as Richie says in the chat, there it is. At least Kim won't make outs on the bases and has to play better defense. That's basically what it boils down to. Even if it doesn't hit any better than Pages, the defense of the base running would probably be better. Samuel Gilbert also asks, isn't ignoring a base coach an unforgivable offense? I don't think there is such a thing as an unforgivable offense in baseball, other than what Pete Rose did. Obviously ignoring your base coach or missing your base coach, whichever it was a bad thing. And we saw on the broadcast, Pages got a talking to. They definitely let him know, I know you scored, but that's because you got lucky, not because it was a good idea to not listen to your base coach. So, I mean, he's learning. And sometimes we saw this with Yasiel Puig all the time. We've seen it with a lot of guys who are so talented that they end up in the big leagues when they're still learning some of the fundamentals. And especially, guys coming from Cuba or the Dominican Republic, where, they play a ton of baseball, but it's not the same style of baseball we play here in the US. And so, all of us growing up, we played little league, and then we played high school ball, and then, then people go on to college, a lot of them, and then they get drafted. So by the time they make it to the big leagues, they've kind of learned the American style of baseball. And, like with Yasiel Puig, he was a year and a half after he was signed out of Cuba, after he defected from Cuba, he was playing in the big leagues. And so there was just stuff that you and I learned in 10th grade that Yasiel Puig was learning at age 22 in the big leagues. With Pages, I think there's some of that too. I don't think he's as raw as Puig was, but there's definitely some similarities there. And it's just a different style of baseball. And that's
ultimately, he probably wouldn't even be here if Outman wasn't so bad last year and they had, some couple other injuries here and there. Because he was coming off surgery himself. I don't think the Dodgers expected him to be a significant contributor last year. And now maybe you're seeing the results of that were, okay, maybe they figured him out a little bit and he probably wasn't ready in terms of the other parts of the game.
Yeah. So it's James Outman is another guy who maybe he's the easier choice because he is an experience. At least we know we're going to get the defense and the base running from him. I'm sure the Dodgers are wishing that he wasn't striking out in half his at bats in AAA, because if he was even, I haven't looked. I know when we were talking Thursday night, he had just had 2 hits, including a walk-off hit. I actually don't know how he did over the weekend, if he did anything else to endear himself to the Dodgers, to say, hey, look, call me up. But whatever it is, Kim will be in the big leagues at some point. Outman, I'm sure we'll get another chance at some point if he can put the bat on the ball in AAA. And Pages is going to, at some point, get the James Outman treatment from last year. Well, hey, we gave you a shot and you were terrible, so why don't you go play in AAA for a while?
Yeah, it's to have the one spot where it's a negative in all 3, that's really where it comes down to for me. And we've talked about the Dodgers can have one bad player in the lineup. If they have just a number 9 hitter that's not hitting, that's okay. There'll be days when guys get days off and Rojas is in or Barnes is in, and maybe Chris Taylor might be in and you're down maybe a couple guys that aren't necessarily hitting very well, and you got two or 3 spots in your lineup that are iffy. But that's fine. That's going to be like maybe once a week. If you can get somebody that's going to be a plus or at least average on defense, but a black hole at the number 9 spot, you can survive that, especially with the rest of the lineup the Dodgers have and the way the rest of the lineup's hitting. Like I said, they put up 7 runs on Sunday. A normal day for the Dodgers, that's an easy win. This just wasn't a normal day.
Yeah, I did look up Outman since we last talked in this weekend. The last 3 games against El Paso, he went 2 for 11, but both hits were doubles. He also had 2 walks and only 3 strikeouts, 1 strikeout in each game, which is actually a massive improvement over what he had done in his first 5 games. He had 11 strikeouts in the first 5 games. So cut his strikeout rate basically in half over the last 3 games. So maybe he is excited to get back to the big leagues. It tells you the state of Andy Pages, that 2 for 11 with only 3 strikeouts is like, hey, call him up.
Yeah.
So rough series with the Phillies. Dodgers now 9-2. Technically in second place because the Giants are not 8-1, 9. Yeah, there's something in 1. So the Dodgers are in second place behind the Giants. The Padres are just behind the Dodgers, and or maybe I think they're half a game behind the Dodgers. It's all tight, but it's way too early to be worrying too much about the standings. We're just going to focus on the Dodgers. They head to Washington D.C. to take on the Nationals, and with a couple young pitchers making spot starts, it's probably good timing that they're playing a team like the Nationals, who do have some promising young hitters, but hopefully overall the Dodgers can pull out some wins in DC. You got anything else for tonight, Vince?
No.
All right, that'll do it for us. Thank you all for being with us here on this Sunday night. We won't be this late tomorrow, probably. We'll probably be, the normal time, about 8:30 or 9 Pacific, probably. So we enjoy talking Dodgers with you. We thank you for being with us. If you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. Make that easier on yourself by subscribing wherever you're watching or listening right now. You can also go beyond the podcast, become a Locked On Dodgers Insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Vince is on Twitter at VinceSince91. I'm on Twitter at Snydog. Both of our DMs are open over there. Also, check out MLB Game Night for your second listen. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can email us, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or send us a voicemail or a text message to 323-863-LOCK, 5625. We are here every weekday morning. We hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Have a good one.